Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. I'm here with Dr. Nick Begich, who is an expert in the area of high-frequency active auroral research program. He is the author of a new book called Controlling the Human Mind, the Technologies of Political Control, or Tools for Peak Performance. Dr. Begich also wrote Angels Don't Play This HAARP, Advances in Tesla Technology with Gene Manning, Earth Rising, The Revolution Toward 1,000 Years of Peace, and his latest book, Earth Rising 2, The Betrayal of Science, Society, and the Soul, with the late James Roderick. He's the editor of Earthpulse Flashpoints, a new science book series. He's published articles in science, politics, education. He's a very well-known lecturer. He's presented throughout the United States and in 19 countries. He's been on thousands of radio and television shows. He served as an expert witness and speaker before the European Parliament and spoken on various issues for groups representing citizens' concerns, statesmen and elected officials, scientists, and others. He's the publisher and co-owner of Earthpulse Press. We really want to welcome him today because he has spread light on a subject that is not easy to talk about, let alone to educate the public about. It's a subject that has to do with HAARP, a microwave technology that cooks the ionosphere that is missing from most climate debates, science, and conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Dr. Nick Begich. Welcome to It's Rainmaking Time, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting program.
You have great courage publishing Angels Don't Play This HAARP. I would like to know what led you to do this.
Well, it was really a series of accidents, in terms of deciding to write the book and get that information out. But I'd read a short article in actually Nexus magazine about this project taking place in Alaska and being very politically oriented up here, and it's really Alaska's big geographically, small in terms of population, so you tend to pretty much keep up with what's going on around Alaska. And this was a project not getting much local attention, and when I began looking into it and began to pull the first documents and have some of my friends who are physicists take a look at the materials and other atmospheric scientists, it became clear that this was something that really needed more in-depth reporting. And that led to an article, which then led to my meeting Gene and my co-author. And Gene Manning had written a book, The Coming Energy Revolution, and she has a sequel, I think, out now on that theme. And we collaborated and put together the book Angels Don't Play This HAARP, which was pretty much the expose on that project here in Alaska.
The project has been very downplayed by the PR analyst at HAARP.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the military projects, and this is funded by DARPA these days. It used to be the Air Force and Navy's project. DARPA took it over a few years ago. But essentially they fund military projects, research, and applications, and that's what HAARP is really about. When you look at the original planning documents, and we knew the inventor quite well. In fact, I got to know him quite well over the last 14 years, up until his death in 2007. In fact, he was an attendee at one of our conferences when I was working with the Lay Institute out of Dallas.
What's his name?
That's Bernard Eastland, the inventor. And Eastland was, understood what he had, and what happened as he, progressed from, the 80s when the concept was originated to today, a lot has changed. I mean, that's like the horse and buggy compared to where we are, 'cause things change so rapidly in this area that his latest research indicated that, for instance, in the weather modification applications of HAARP, he figured you could do it with 1,600 times less energy than he originally thought was necessary when he designed HAARP. So, those kinds of changes in base knowledge really changed to the dimension of the project, much along the same lines as we laid out in 1995 when we published the first version of the book Angels Don't Play This HAARP.
Didn't Nikola Tesla really invent this technology? Could you explain it to the public, establish the frame of reference, and connect it in how Tesla's technology is being either used or misused inside this HAARP technology?
Well, Tesla, of course, most people or many people know who he is today, and he was the inventor of the AC current and transmission system, generation system, AC motors. I mean, the things we rely on every day for the electricity that we get. Edison's given all kinds of credit, and he developed the uses of DC current and the light bulb, and those are all important, but alternating current was the real key. And he also had a number of ideas in terms of use of radio frequency energy and other forms of energy in terms of weapons technology. And so Tesla had some pretty exotic ideas there that he continued to pitch to the government, and developed some patent concepts, and was lecturing about these weapons of invisible rays that would strike like bolts of lightning from Thor, is how he described in one article. But the point is, he was brilliant in this area, and in the original patents by Eastland, actually some of that work was cited by Eastland, and Eastland saw sort of the stimulus creatively for looking at this concept came from those papers and ideas of Tesla. And Eastland was a brilliant plasma physicist, where energy takes mass and form, and that was his big deal. If you look at his patents, although he did a lot of work in oil and gas, if you really look at his patent, a lot of them deal with his specialty in plasma physics. And I guess that's really the correlation, in terms of that impetus. And some of the ideas that Eastland had with these HAARP transmitters, which right now HAARP is 180 72-foot tall antennas with what's called a cross dipole, which would look like just like you would expect. It would look like the positive sign, the plus sign, perpendicular to the ground. So, and those are like 60 feet across. So there's a big field of 180 of these in a specific array, and when you fire them or shoot radio frequency energy out of them, you can create what's called cyclotron resonance, which, if you could visualize this.
Let's say that again. It's called cyclotron resonance.
Right, and it would be visually like a corkscrewing kind of motion of energy coming off of this array, getting smaller and smaller as it went higher and higher, and eventually, it hits a strike point in the ionosphere where the radio frequency energy is concentrated. And that's kind of the opposite of what normally happens with radio frequency energy coming off an antenna. Think about a funnel with the small end at the antenna, with energy is concentrated, and then it spreads out and gets less and less concentrated or dense as it goes away. So the further you get from the antenna, the less effect. In this case, it's operating by analogy like a laser, where laser concentrates the light, because laser does the same thing. A normal flashlight shining against a wall gets wide real rapidly and dissipates till it's no longer effective at a pretty short distance. Laser concentrates, focuses the energy into a narrow beam, and it carries across a large distance, and stays relatively compact. And the same idea is with this case, with radio frequency, being able to focus it. That's what gives HAARP its unique characteristic, number one, and then the idea that you can pulse it or shape it or modify it in lots of different ways within milliseconds. It allows you to do some pretty exotic things, and that's where Eastland, the inventor, this original concept sort of came from. And the thing about it is you need a lot of energy to run it, and the ideal source of energy is natural gas, and the ideal location of a device like this is close to the polar regions of the Earth, where the magnetic field lines of the Earth intersect it, because in some instances they actually pump energy into those field lines and utilize them as a carrier to create a number of weapons applications. So HAARP is located where it is because Alaska happens to have probably the largest untapped sources of natural gas in the U.S., and huge basins of gas that will one day come to market. But the idea